Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for the 5th of September. All right, now it's pretty interesting as we went through yesterday's trading session. The RBA, let's just start with that, was the major one of the major releases in Asia yesterday. The Aussie was sitting just under 72, the figure. We're expecting that, well, I was hoping actually, I should say, that the RBA would go to a more of a neutral or dovish sort of stance. They sort of stayed pretty firm to what their convictions have been the last sort of year. The Aussie slowly squeezed up towards 72.40, and that's as good as it got. Now, if you have a look across the major pairs, there's a big surge in the US dollar at the very start of the European session, and we saw all these currencies. The dollar just took off against everything. There was no, we all sort of scrambled. As I say, we all scrambled around to try and find out what was going on, but it looks like just someone was flushing out a huge range of positions, and that's sort of a little bit uncertain as to where that's going to finish. But the market slowly steadied, and we did see some consolidation once that initial move has happened. Now, the two major pairs with clear direction, well, there's sort of three to me. The US dollar, or the US dollar index up, the Aussie and Kiwi down. Now, they have very sort of clear downward sentiment. To me, still, I know the euro on the hourlies is going lower, but on the longer term chart, it's still just trading sideways. Sterling has got mixed fundamentals with bearish technicals, making it a bit tricky. NAFTA, okay, Canadian PM Trudeau is just come out and said basically we're going to wait till we get a good deal, playing Trump against himself, and that's seeing dollar CAD scream to the top side. So they're selling CAD along with the Aussie and Kiwi. Now, oil back to 69.37. It's actually dropped a couple of bucks, and there's talk of hurricanes and a few other things across in various locations halting sort of some oil production. So that's a little bit strange to see oil move that way. OPEC, I mean, they've got their hands in it all the time, but that's where we are. Dollar yen, the beast, continues to trade sideways as we await. We want either the China-US trade thing to blow up more, or numbers to start impacting. At the moment, it's not doing anything. So dollar yen just continues to sort of grind away sideways in a pretty decent range, mind you, in the 60, 80, 100-point range. All right, now let's just have a quick look at the what the dollar's doing. As I said, the dollar index is one pair that does have very clear direction at the moment. It's got an upward bias. We have seen it sort of top out just under 95.80 on the index. It's starting to trade sideways here now. Now, this is all, to me, it's pretty geopolitical, right? And that's sort of dominating the market. So all we're seeing at the moment, there's a whole heap of noise. The currencies are moving here and there, and there's a lot of excitement, but there's not a hell of a lot of movement just yet. Now, we've got the US non-farms coming up, but if you have a look at the dollar China, or the dollar yuan, it's back trading sideways, but we did see the US dollar surge against the yuan yesterday as well, at the same time as all those other currencies. I was starting to think it was a dollar China move that was driving the dollar against everything else. That's yet to be confirmed, but it did look like it for all money. So that's where we are. So we've got, at the moment, we've got China sideways. I mean, if you look at the bigger long-term frames, the dollar index is sideways, but short-term it is slightly climbing. Now, this is where we come into the main parts of the day, and we do have the Aussie GDP up today. Now, this data comes out quarterly only. Most other countries, it's month to month. So it is much bigger, higher impacting, okay, because it only comes out every 3 months, and that's what we really need to focus on. So if I just come back here to get up the MyFX Trading Hub. Now, just having a look here, I was a little bit late getting the FX Market Insight up today. Once again, a few internet troubles. We've got 44 minutes till the Aussie GDP. Now, this is going to be a really good opportunity because the Aussie is one of the pairs with very clear direction at the moment. As you come through the rest of the day, just to cover off a few other bits and pieces, we've got the UK Services PMI. Now, we've had retail sales, we've had construction PMI all week, okay, as in not all week, but all very weak data, right? So this is another one. If the services data is exceptionally weak, well, you're going to start to get that fundamental shift again in the UK. Inflation's very high, but the numbers are weak. It looks like someone's playing games with them. But the main event will be the Bank of Canada interest rate decision. Now, no change in rates expected, even though inflation's up at 3%. Now, their inflation band is between 1% and 2%. So realistically, they should be raising rates. But there's so many geopolitical issues impacting dollar CAD at the moment that, it's very hard for them to really make a decision around interest rate decisions when NAFTA can blow up the economy somewhat. You've got oil issues all over the place as well. And then there's a few other trade issues with the EU sort of still dangling away there. Now, geopolitical events are still dominating in the market, so just be aware of that. But as I said, if you come back down, I'll just drop a little bit lower to the daily analysis snapshot. Okay, this is where you can really focus in on what's going on. Short term, I mean, don't just focus on the hourly charts, right? They can give you some direction, but you need the overall trend going the same way with the hourly charts. And this is where the Aussie and Kiwi. Now, the Kiwi fundamentally and technically is probably the best pair to be trading. It's very bearish at the moment. Now, that doesn't mean it just keeps falling. You get short, or you get short anywhere. You've got to wait for your levels to get short, either on retracements or on economic data releases or a break of support. The Aussie today with the GDP numbers has a chance to shift into a fundamental bearish outlook. It's already a technical bearish outlook on all time frames. So if we get the GDP numbers today, that could lead to a very decisive move. And you can see down the bottom here on the next best trade watch list, we have a pending order here on the Aussie. And that's going to be to the downside. Now, bullish wise, the technicals starting to move towards a bullish framework again. The hourlies, of course, heading up. The daily trend or technicals on the dollar, US dollar index are starting to point upwards as well. So the dollar's starting to get ahead of steam. If anything, there's a bit of a sideways setup here on dollar Swiss. That's the one adjustment we've had from yesterday. So just bear in mind that's what's going on there. If you have a look inside the sterling and euro, but sterling in particular, you'll see why it's sideways. We have a mixed fundamental analysis with a sort of bearish technical analysis, and that's where the confusion comes in, and that's why we have that sideways. So just bear that in mind as you go through your day and you're looking at the currencies. You're trying to match up the best opportunities with the best technical setup. All right, so there's not much else to look at. If anything, I'll just give you a quick look at the news out there that's banging away at the moment. Once again, a lot of it is just technical, it's technical. So I say geopolitical. Okay, now sterling actually bounced a little bit. Carney has put his hand up and said he'll stay in the job longer if he's accepted. Now that's steady's policy, like a continuation of his policy. That is actually a positive sentiment, fundamental sentiment. Now, I already mentioned Trudeau, the Canadian PM, saying they're going to wait for a good NAFTA deal. They're not going to be pushed into a timeline with the US. Now, that has seen the Canadian dollar fall again. And then you have, if you have a look at the various energy things, there's some, with the storms coming through the Gulf of Mexico, you are seeing a lot of the refineries turn off. That should usually see oil rally. It's falling. To me, that doesn't make sense. So we'll have to see how that plays out as well. And the other thing in here is, at the very top, continued talk about the US-China trade stuff, trade issues. I think Trump's just waiting for these numbers to impact dollar CAD, and that's when, not dollar CAD, dollar China, or the yuan, and then we'll start to see, he wants to get the Chinese back to the negotiation table when they're under pressure. But they're pretty resilient, so I don't know how that's going to go for him. So today, to me, the Aussie, definitely the one of the main trading opportunities. We do have sort of a good downtrend at the moment, sideways, which is nice for a big release. And dollar CAD, as I mentioned, the Bank of CAD, this thing is shooting to the top side more on geopolitical issues than anything else. We have had a couple of weak data releases over the course of the last week, but a lot of it is geopolitics. Okay, so just be aware that's going to be a tricky one to get through. All right, guys, that's it from me. We've got a very interesting 24 hours coming up. Just manage your capital, don't over leverage, and nail these good opportunities as they drop. All right, guys, have a good trade session. I'll see you in the live trade zone. Cheerio.